Okay, so today we will continue the lecture from last class. We started talking about controls, about devices, the controls of devices, and guidelines for design. Today we will focus entirely on the ergonomic functions of color. So it will be focused only on color. All of these things color can achieve. So for example, safety, visibility, durability of appearance, identification, and so on. So we will talk about each one of these and focus on the choice of color only and how it affects all of these points. Color can be critical. So the wrong choice of color can be critical in most designs. So you think color is something very, like optional and not important, but in fact it is very important. It can damage the whole design if you choose the wrong color. So, now, of course, we are focusing on controls and machines right now. So our discussion will be focused on this area. However, the things that we talk about can be also applied to other designs from other areas. Now, one of the ergonomic functions of color is safety. Okay? So through color, you can improve the visibility of certain controls and as a result increase the safety of a device. So if you choose the correct color or if you choose the wrong color, it can create big problems. So if you choose the correct color, you can focus people's attention. Okay, what do we see here? The first thing, we see this. Okay? Now, of course, not only color affects what we see first. It could be also, last class we discussed about the coding, like the shape, the sizes, all of this also matters. But color is also important. Imagine if this control was white in color. It is big, it is this size, it's located here, but it's white like the background. It will not draw your attention to it. But look at the color choices. It tells you this is something important. This is an emergency button. You have to see it first thing in an emergency. Okay, you cannot miss it. So it can improve the safety through the color choice. The visibility. So for controls, the visibility can be improved, so you can distinguish between various functions. So if you see a red control, a green, a white, this should tell you something about the function. Now, if all these controls here were the same color, even if the shapes are different, even if the sizes are different, it will confuse the user. So the color is one thing, one element that's very important. So if you go back to the elements of design, color is one of them. Okay? So we have shape, we have all kinds of things, and we have color. Color very important. Okay? So you can choose the correct shape, you can place it in the correct place, but if you choose the wrong color, it will give the wrong message. Okay? Durability of appearance. Now sometimes you choose color because of this. What is durability of appearance? Like you have to know this particular device, where it's going to be used and by whom. And this could influence you by the color choices to make it look more durable. Or, for example, if you know that this device will be used in environments that are very dirty, prone to becoming dirty, all of these things, you can choose color that will accept the dirt, and even if the device gets dirty, or the controls, it will still look good. You see, it's like wearing clothes. Like if you put white clothes, they will become dirty very quickly. Not that they will become more dirty than other colors, but it will be visible on them. So any small spot on the white, immediately you see it. But if you wear the black clothes, maybe they have a lot of dirt on them, but you will not be able to see. So the same thing with device. The color you choose, sometimes the color can, any small dirt on it immediately be visible, or it can disguise the dirt. So the device may look beautiful for a longer period of time. Now we are talking about controls, but in fact this is applicable to any product and any thing really. So durability of appearance. But for this, to choose the correct color, you need to know where is it going to be used and by whom. Like if you go to work in the field with the sand and with these things, you will not wear white clothes. But if you go to a meeting, you can wear white, okay? So it depends where are you going to use these devices. So durability of appearance. So next one, identification. To be able to identify, what to identify, okay? So, for example, sometimes we have some products, they use specific colors, not for any other reason, but to let the people know that, okay, this is the blue, red, black color. These devices are Bosch, the brand. So you're letting the customer immediately identify through the colors what is the brand. Now, why they use in all of these devices these three colors? Not that another color will not work. Maybe another color will also be beautiful. But imagine if this is green here, this is red, this is blue, this is green, this is white, this is every single one a different color, you will not be able to recognize the Bosch brand anymore. So, brand identification can also be triggered through the colors. So immediately if you see these colors, you know this belongs to this brand. And this brand have a good name, so you know, okay, this have a good quality. Immediately you're drawn to it. So color choices can be critical for many things, okay? Yeah, so that's basically, so here the brand is the most important, and to recognize which brand is that. So the color choices, sometimes you are not free. So if you're a designer for this company, you cannot suddenly come up with an idea, oh, I want to change the blue-red color to something else. You cannot, because this is the brand, okay? So you need to be careful about these things also. We have also something, some standard colors. Standardization, we mentioned this word before. So something that can be recognized by all people all over the world. So we have, with colors, we have some standardized colors as well. So you are not free to choose any color. We are talking about controls here, but it's really for many components, the same thing. You cannot choose whatever you like. You have to check what is a standardized color for this function. So for example, push buttons, these are a type of controls. Now the red, the standardized color red is used for stop or some kind of an emergency. You cannot, for example, put red for to mean something else. Or for example, for an emergency stop button, to put green or blue or white. You cannot. You might think it's beautiful, okay, but it doesn't serve the function. It confuses the viewer. And you don't want to confuse the viewer, especially with machines, okay? So we have standardized colors. And the standardized colors not only for the controls, but also sometimes you have light. Like for example, when you push something, a light come up, or these lights have also colors. These also are standardized. So if you see a yellow light, if you see a green light, if you see a red light, it has specific meanings that you cannot change. Like if you're the designer of this machine, for example, any machine, you have to consider standardized colors. Now this is not everything. Like if you open online and look at good resources, you will find a lot more color choices and for what they are used. Okay? So this thing you need to be also careful about. So let's say if you analyze a device for mistakes, okay? You need to look at the colors, also the color choices of this device and these controls. If you see a wrong color choice or that is not optimal, not perfect, you have to talk about it in your assignment, okay? So all of these aspects important. Color also serves structural function. Now the structural functions are several in nature. We will talk about them. Here it's like the basics of design come in hand. So if you're good at elements of design, principles of design, how to organize elements of design through the principles, it will be easy for you to understand this concept. Now we apply these basic ideas to actual machines with controls. Okay, so what do we have here? Structural functions. The structural functions of color is concerned with the ability or capacity to affect the way an object is perceived. So I can have this design, like what I mean with this design, like the organization of the controls with all the other details, and I can have here the same one, but I just change some of the colors. For example, do you see here we have white lines? Why these white lines? They serve something visual. Okay? I can change some of the colors here, the background color, the way I divide the color, and everything will change as a result. So the way you perceive this, just by the change of color, you will see it as something totally different. So the color combinations, because we have a lot of colors here, you need to be very careful with. So center of attention, it can create a center of attention. So when you see something, you see the first thing, what do you see? Then the second thing, then the third thing. Color can help in that. Now, of course, the shapes, the sizes, all of these things also influence, but also the color, very important part of it. It's an element of design, okay? These are the basic structures of any composition. So this is like a composition. The poster, the same thing. Any design have a composition. So the color is very important for either centering of attention or not centering of attention. It can also separate certain parts depending on where you put what color. And so if you look at these, for example, here, these examples. Now if you notice this black color here, this black color behind this control, it doesn't serve any direct function. Like I can remove this black color now and leave it all gray. This color, all gray. Or I can make it white, or I can make it green, or I can make it another color, or a different shape. Why this shape here? Why I don't make it like this? This will be black, this will be gray. Why I don't make it like this? Why I don't make it like this, for example? There is hundreds of versions what you can do with these colors, but each version will create some effect on the viewer. So one of them is separation association. Now separation, like, let me go back to the first. These lines, do you see here? Imagine without these lines. There will be no separation of this from this from this. So these simple lines also create separation. These objects create separation. So you need to look at separation between what? First, it centralizes our vision here in the middle. It creates separation from this side and this side. Also, it emphasizes the balance. There is balance and symmetry here. So, all of these things are important. Now, I can change the way this color looks and destroy the symmetry and balance visually. If I put a color, for example, starting here, do something irregular, color this black, this gray, immediately it will destroy the balance and symmetry. But here it emphasizes this, and it creates separation between the parts. So you need to really look at the details and think about them. Why are they placed there? Can they be placed in a better way? Can they be changed? Now here we are focusing only on the color and the way the color can influence us. So anything you put, any line, any shape, color, background, combination can affect the final result. So when you come to your assignment and you analyze the device that you should do, the controls, you should look at all of these things and explain them in your assignment. Not just 1-2 sentences and go and expect, okay? So all of these points, you need to really look at them carefully in the device that you analyze. So, and in future, when it's time for you to design something, it doesn't have to be devices. It can be anything. You also have to apply the basics of design. If you forget about color and just put color because you like this color or that color, forget that the shape of the color that you choose also influences what you have. This will be a problem. Okay? So, it can make an object the separation or association. To look unified, what does unified mean? In the basics of design, we explained unity as a principle of design. So when you look at a design, to look as a unity that all these components are part of one design. Or you can make it fragmented, to look like each part is a separate part. So for example, when you do your assignments, and you have, let's say, 9 assignments to do, it would have been a better idea if you make them unified than fragmented. What do I mean with that? Unified. For example, the students that choose a cover, the same cover for all assignments, just changing the information. This is a way to unify that all of these belong to this student. Some students change the design from one assignment to the other. Okay, it's not like totally wrong because each assignment is on its own, but it creates a fragmented. So each time I look at a new paper, I have to look, is this the same student? Oh, okay. So be careful with these things. This is correct and this is correct, but they serve different purposes. Okay? Okay. It can create something to look, for example, more complicated, more simple. So all of these things, there is nothing right or wrong. It depends on the purpose. And if you have a device, it depends on what is the device, what is its use, and how the color can help me with this. To clarify more of the things that should be clarified, not to overcrowd or obstruct information. Okay? Proportion and orientation. Now color can serve this purpose as well. What do we mean with proportion? One part compared to another, how does it look? So if we have the same design, like let's say this is the same like this shape, but look how different they look. Totally different because how the color has been organized. Okay? So the color can change the proportion of an object. You can make a small object look big through the color. You can make a big object look small. You can change the way the object looks. This is, for example, a curve. Look at this curve. Here we don't have curves. If I put here instead of the curve a straight line, it will change the way the object looks. So I can make it look totally different just by changing color. Not only the type of color I use, but where do I place it? How do I place it? It can make the same object look very different just by the color. And this can serve a lot of purposes actually, because sometimes some designs are designed for, let's say, target group of people that like, let's say, a specific type of colors. So with these kind of devices, you will find a lot of users and a lot of preferences. Some users like this color, some users like the red, the black, the white, you know. So to meet the needs of all of these people, you can create the same object, the same shape, just by changing the color. It already appeals to different target group of people. This is very important to understand. In design, it is not easy to change the shape. Like, for example, every time you come up with a new shape, it can be very expensive. But you can have the same shape, so produced by the same machines one time, but colored in different ways. And this can make them, oh, this one look different than this one look different than this, but in fact they are the same. Okay? So, this is the trick that the color can play on the viewer. So it can play totally and change the proportions of an object. Now, just to summarize, now we focused on colors and all of these things in this class. Just to remind you that the correct and quick identification of controls is critical. Now, because we are focusing here on controls, so all of this information about colors, you have to focus it on the control. So you have to look at the control itself, but also the background of the control. So all of this have to basically help with its purpose. What is the device? How to use the control? Is it clear, not clear? I need to be identified, especially in danger. Okay? So, every device is different. It has different purposes. So first you have to ask yourself always, what is the function of this device? So if we take a projector, it's different than a mouse. It's different than a mobile, different. So you need to first understand what is the function of this device, then look at all the points that we discussed from the previous lecture, and then when you get to the color, you look specifically color, okay? Not about the shape, not about anything else, but the color and all of the options that you have. Is the color correctly chosen, okay, for the purpose of the control? Because it can be very critical sometimes. Now, when we discussed controls until now, what controls mean again? When the user tries to communicate with the machine and to tell the machine what to do. How? Through controls. So if I want to tell this computer, close, I will go and press the close button, for example, okay? So this is a communication. So I put what I want, I tell the machine through typing, through pressing, through rotating controls. Okay, great. This is done by the hand and fingers. But we have other methods, other type of controls. Like the microcomputer technology nowadays has evolved into more type of controls than just using your fingers and your hands. So you can, for example, use speech, talk. Even some mobiles that you have now, when you want to make a search on the internet, you can talk and it writes for you. So you don't have to type. So this is through speech. We have also through eye movement. Like some people are handicapped, special needs, don't have hands, for example. Okay, maybe they cannot talk. Then what? They have the eyes. So eye movement can be used also to type, to use controls, to communicate with devices, to input information. So there is a lot of these types that have been developed for people that cannot move, have special needs, handicapped. This is very important to understand that controls are not just controlled by the fingers and the hands. We can have other ways. However, most of the devices that we see around us nowadays are still controlled by the hands and the fingers and some speech. But you cannot see eye tracking devices everywhere and these kind of things. They are specialized devices, okay? But these are controls, just in case, okay? So you know. Now, your assignment. Find one device that has at least 3 controls. Minimum 3 controls, okay? And explain where you believe design problems exist. Now, don't forget that in the previous class lecture and this lecture, we focused on, mainly everything was focused on controls. So when you discuss here the assignment, you will focus your discussion on the controls. Maximum the controls with the background, but For example, we did not study about the organization of the controls, so you cannot discuss this here. Focus only on the specific things of the lecture. Here, controls, you will discuss the controls in your assignment only. Do not put me irrelevant information from the internet, copy-paste, which have nothing to do with this theme. Okay? Look at your device. Take it in your hand. Examine everything. Look at the points that we discussed. If you forget, go back and see what I discussed about it. Okay? And then discuss about your device. So, from this lecture and from the previous lecture, clear photos need to be included. Some students in some previous assignments included no photo. It's like a few text, just text, and I'm reading and I'm trying to understand what the hell is he talking about, or she. It's like, what device? We are choosing specific devices, specific products, and analyzing them. You cannot just talk in general, because each product, have its own needs. Understand this? So without photos, you cannot submit me anything. And remember, last lecture we discussed so many details like labels, we have signs and symbols and text, and all of these things need discussion and needs clear photos, zoom photos, okay? Now, next lecture and the lecture after, and we have to finish this material. After we finish the material for the semester, our first class will be a feedback class. This feedback class, I will discuss some major points from your previous assignments, like major mistakes and things that you need to be careful with. So it will be hopefully a useful discussion, because I don't want you to do the same mistakes in the final submissions, because as you saw, the marks are not great for many students. Only a few achieved acceptable marks. So I will use that class when we get to it to discuss these issues. So several points, important points to consider. Maybe I will choose a few assignments as examples, but there is not a single assignment that I can say it's perfect, so we cannot use it as example. But if you take an assignment that received 25 out of 30, assignment, and another assignment 3 out of 30, it's a big difference, so we can see clearly the mistakes, okay? So I will choose a few and talk about them. Okay, thank you.